Hey, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
And we're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we're looking at the Doctor Who 50th Anniversary Special.
The Day of the Doctor.
Dun dun dun! That's not quite the right music. Da da da! It's more appropriate.
Da da da! It actually had two prequel specials before it.
What was it? I saw Night of the Doctor. What was the other one?
The other one was a brief video from the perspective of one of the Time Lord soldiers guarding Arcadia.
Oh, I gotta look that up. All right, what was that called? You know what it was called?
I do not remember.
Okay, so Night of the Doctor was cool. I guess we'll start there because we both saw
it's
that.
the only other appearance on television of Paul McGann as the Doctor.
As the Eighth Doctor, which was neat the way they lampshaded that. I'm a doctor, but probably not the one you were expecting. The audience is like, oh my gosh, Eighth Doctor!
Paul McGann! Yeah!
Which says something about our love for the history of the show, when nobody liked the one movie he was in, but he's still like a historical thing to us. Like, there he is, look at him.
Oh, he was a good... The movie he was in might have had flaws, but he was a good
That's
Doctor.
True. No one complained about him particularly.
You can have a bad...
It was just a bad script, yeah.
There's plenty of people who like the Sixth Doctor, even though he had some really terrible stories.
Yeah, that's true. And he did have a following on the Big Finish audio dramas, which I've never heard any of them, but I hear that some of them at least are good.
Yes.
So I'm sure that increases his popularity.
Law of probability.
Yeah, I guess so. Some shows are just bad all the way through, though. If you really want to
yes, I am
make
aware.
a spectacle of it. But
we'll cover some of those shows sometime.
So anyway, he shows up and I guess just miscalculated how long it was going to take to crash because he gets himself killed kind of unnecessarily. But I get it was still a neat dramatic thing when the what's her name was all like, I don't want to be saved. And, yeah.
Oh no! It wasn't that she doesn't want to be saved. She doesn't want to be saved by a Time Lord.
Right. Because the Time Lords have fricked up the universe that much.
And the Daleks, Time Lords and the Daleks, which brings me to a interesting point that I really think that the 50th really should have explored more. But we'll get to that later.
All right. Anyway, we are informed by proxy that basically the Time Lords have been fricking stuff up just as much as the Daleks. The Doctor crashes with the ship because I'm guessing, miscalculated, which, that can happen. And he lands on Karn, I believe, or the Sisters of Karn or something show up, and they...
Which did appear before in the classic Doctor series.
Cool. And so they revive him, like, you have a little more than 4 of your Earth minutes, or just 4 minutes, she says. And he's like, 4 minutes? That's ages! What if I get bored? Someone bring me chess, or, let me do some knitting, or whatever. So that was neat, classic, just the Doctor has an attitude all the time, in a good way. And then he intentionally, because they have potions to do this for him, he intentionally incarnates into a warrior form. Now, I'd just like to make a small note here. If I'm Moffat, and... I'm planning this out. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to add a new Doctor between the other Doctors. I think nomenclature is important. I think for the fans' sanity, it's just important to know, this guy doesn't count as the Doctor, quote unquote. We need another name for him. I would have called him the Warrior, right?
Precisely. And that would have been much easier for us to...
Just to talk about, because then now we're going to be like the Ninth Doctor, by which I mean Eccleston Ninth and not the actual Ninth, which, by the way, was an idea back in Old Who, was that the first Doctor perhaps wasn't the first incarnation.
Which is another thing that I'll get to later.
Which I'm so glad they didn't do, because then the entire 50 years, we all would have been like, the third Doctor, by which I mean the third that I saw, not the third one in his own personal time stream. Like, so many conversations would just get so much harder. You got to make your nomenclature.
If you want an example of this in the real world, try describing the original Star Wars to someone. Okay, the first Star Wars. I mean, not Episode 1, but the original Star Wars, so Episode 4.
The fourth movie is Episode 1, and the first movie is Episode 4, and it worked out there at least, because you could just tell them by their titles, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back,
But no one knows A New Hope. Everyone knows it by simply Star Wars.
That's true. Well, whatever. But nomenclature is just kind of a small thing, but as a fan, that's kind of something They did call him the War Doctor in the end credits, so at least they said we're not giving him a number, it's War Doctor. Still has the word Doctor in it. I would have gone with Warrior. Small note. Anyway, he reincarnates as a warrior, and then that leads into the main show, the Day of the Doctor.
Okay, I have a few things.
Yeah.
First off, they say, oh, don't worry, the city is protected by sky trenches. Now, it's clearly some sort of shield, but really? Sky trench. The nearest I can figure from that title, it means that someone dug a divot out of the sky. That's not a shield. That's a vacuum.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Look, I get it. You want something fantastic and sciencey.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Moffat. Man, you might want to take note. We're already on Gallifrey, a planet where they regularly expose their children to the time vortex.
Yep.
You don't need to make it sound more futuristic. These people created TARDISes.
Right, yeah.
You don't need to just say shield.
Yeah.
The shields are holding. Don't
Yeah.
say sky trench.
Right.
This is right on par with the Voyager episode Threshold, where they have
Ooh.
multispectral warp generators, which, as SF Debris put it, makes it sound like it's a ship that runs on rainbows.
I accept it. I would agree. If you're gonna call them shields, if you make them fancy, call them time vortex shields or Galorian shields or something. Just like come up with a fancy weird word. That would
Tachyon
prefer.
screens.
Tachyon screen. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the tachyon screens are holding. You don't need, it's
Yeah.
Gallifrey, the homeworld of the Time Lords. You don't need to make it sound advanced. They're
Well,
so advanced.
I mean, our
Their version of primitive is at least a light year ahead of our own technological development levels.
By the way, we're probably going to be rambling a little more even than usual in this one because the story jumps around between time frames and perspectives so much. So, hope you've seen the show.
Okay.
Speaking of advanced and how to present it, I was a little disappointed by the visuals of the Time War. And I guess, they have budget constraints and stuff. But it is frankly pretty standard guys running around in sci-fi battle armor shooting laser guns.
And the Daleks weren't even doing anything impressive. They were just rolling forward and
Right.
yelling "exterminate" while shooting
Right.
also forward.
Which is what they always do. Now, in my
Okay,
mind,
if I wanted that and I wanted it more impressive, I would go to what was the one where they had the Crucible?
Stolen Earth.
Stolen Earth. I would watch Stolen Earth, where we get to see swarms of Daleks descending from on high, taking out a unit flying carrier, and enslaving the Earth under their guns.
Yeah.
We see them pursue a fugitive into a building, and then... Actually, they don't pursue the building. The fugitive goes into a building, and then they just vaporize the building. That's the kind of thing that we need to see. Otherwise,
yeah.
this feels like Halo, except with Daleks. Note to self, fanfiction idea.
Halo with Daleks. Oh, that'd be interesting. Oh my gosh, that would totally just be like floodlings in suits, right? Because they're all
Ooh,
like...
nice. Weird dorks.
Okay, but
yeah, so it was very unimpressive.
I was hoping to see space weaponry and not like standard just space guns.
I was hoping to see
like
Time
just
Lord starships.
huge like energy thingamajigs that you could barely even imagine what it was doing, but it was just like color flashing back and forth and stuff was blowing up everywhere. And you're like, I don't even know what that is, but it's apparently massive and destructive.
I kind of wanted to see like planet-sized
Yeah.
super cruisers battling
Yeah.
each other, and then like as it's about to be destroyed, it flashes out of existence, and then suddenly it reappears in the same spot,
Right.
except it's fully regenerated because
Right.
they're abusing the laws of time travel, which is destroying the universe around them. But they don't care. They've forgotten the reasons why they started fighting this war, and now are only motivated by hate.
You know, it'd be kind of cool is if a guy runs in and just he's running someplace for some reason and sees his own corpse fall over, and therefore knows he's about to die in 5 minutes, and then stops for a second and then runs into battle anyway. That would be like a movement of courage and also a Time Lord type of thing you could only do in a Time Lord story. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, except maybe like he could do something different, so the corpse vanishes like a second later.
Yeah, he could do like all sorts of weird stuff. Oh my gosh, you could eventually cut back to that guy and there's like 20 of his corpses lying around and,
Okay, now what do I do?
it's like just freaking up the laws of time, And they just didn't have quite time for that, didn't quite have the budget for that.
Well, Russell T Davies once said that they would never ever show the time war on screen.
Right, because it would never match up to our expectations. So
Well,
here we
actually,
are
I think
complaining.
I think he said something along the lines of it would require more budget than the human race has ever had in the history of ever.
Yeah. Now, of course, they did have a small narrative bit to it of like, oh, it's the last day of the war. I guess the big weapons have already been blown up, but it just would have been nice, 50th anniversary, to go a little more big budget.
Oh, I mean, it's the 50th anniversary. You got David Tennant back.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, David Tennant's performance, he, as always, does his best. I mean, he's a classically trained Shakespearean actor.
Oh,
Okay, well, I think he is.
whatever.
Well, he's done Shakespearean plays.
Okay.
He is known for his acting ability.
Yeah.
And yet Moffat's writing leaves him a joke. Pretty much everything he does is for the sake of a gag at his
there were
expense.
several gags, yeah. Now, I was willing to take that, because he had his serious moments, too. He wasn't joking with the hand on the button and stuff, you know.
Well, yes, but that was there were no moments dedicated to Tennant's doctor. No moments where Tennant's doctor said, yes, I am the doctor. I have done this and this and this.
Well, he did say that, but to a rabbit. So, yeah, that became a joke on him.
Well, yes, but...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But he,
yeah,
doing something impressive on his own.
Yeah.
All the moments were hogged by either Eleven or by War Doctor.
Yeah, we'll call him War Doctor.
Yeah.
There wasn't much room
There
for
was some
Tennant.
complaints by an earlier doctor. I can't remember which one. I think it was 7, maybe,
Okay.
or 5, saying that this was not a 50th anniversary special. It was a glorification of Moffat's contributions to the franchise.
Well, I mean,
To a small degree.
yeah. I didn't feel it was Moffat being greedy. Really, I felt well. If you'd remade the thing from scratch, yeah, it would have been great. Yeah, to bring in a more moment for David Tennant. I could see with what he was trying to do and the limited time frame he had. It was longer than the regular episode, but still only 75 minutes. That it was kind of hard to cram in everything he wanted, and stuff just kind of got a little shortchanged, you know. And besides, I'm sure a lot of people thought it was freaking awesome that he gets to technically be the king of England. I mean, that was a Tennant thing. It was jokey, but it was also an accomplishment in a different way.
Which...
Yeah, no, I would have liked to see him do something very particular to him at some point. I mean, he does have quotes from himself, but an accomplishment of meaning to the story very particular to him would have been nice.
And the interactions with the doctors, I thought, were just kind of flat and lame.
Well, I like 10 and 11 together. They seem
10 and 11
like
seemed
long-lost brothers that are suddenly like, I'm with you, I'm with me.
I didn't like
cool?
the dick joke they made. I did not like the dick joke because...
I didn't even catch that until like the day after, and someone mentioned it. I was like, oh, well, that was pretty subtle, whatever.
It was not subtle.
Okay, whatever. To me, it was. I don't have such a dirty mind, is what I'm saying. No, I'm kidding.
I'm more cautious about my dirty mind, that's it.
But yeah, I like them just joking with each other because they're both goofy that way, and they could play off each other.
I was waiting for them to fight. Honestly, that has always been the best part of multi-doctor episodes. The fact that they utterly hate each other in every way.
But this makes a refreshing change then. And because the Doctor doesn't ever have someone as goofy as him and in the scene with him, you know? The companion's there and like, what are you doing? And this time the Doctor gets to be like, what? Yeah, we're on the same page, making stuff up. It's funny.
Yes, but still, the elements were all there. David Tennant, I felt that the 10th Doctor was a PTSD character, a post-traumatic stress from the aftermath of the Time War. 9 was the bandage on the wound of the psyche of the Doctor himself. Of the Time War, and Tennant was recovering from the stress of the Time War.
Well, yeah, he
11 was the first attempt to really rebuild the character after to reconnect with what the Doctor was supposed to be.
Kinda,
in the Doctor's mind, at least.
Yeah, in the Doctor's mind.
So you had this perfect opportunity, especially since Rose isn't there. None of the companions are there. That means this is after he went through his Time Lord Victorious phase.
Yeah.
You have a great opportunity here to say, for 11 to fire at him, what have you been doing? What is wrong with you, Mr. Time Lord Victorious? And 10 to fire back, yeah, well, you're not so hot. What happened to Finding River Song once he finds out about her, I guess? Or calling him out on his carefree attitude and acting like a just silly character when there's...
it's back to what I was saying about time limits, because 10 definitely did have that stronger, darker side, the Time Lord Victorious bit, and it was badass. And he also gave us, it goes ding when there's stuff. Like, so basically they were exploring that one half of his personality. They left off the other half.
Which it leaves an unbalanced character.
It leaves an unbalanced portrayal. And true, if you're going to bring him back, it'd be nice to see both sides of it.
Especially when he consistently knocked it out of the park pretty much every single time he did that.
Right. Now, to be fair, there was the scene with the three of them in the tower, and War Doctor asks, do you ever count how many children died? And 10 has the number and 11 doesn't want to say it, right? And he did have that look in his eyes, Tennant did, when he said like 2.6 million or whatever it was. So there was a.
How did you go back and count them when the planet was obliterated / made gone?
I'm guessing there's some sort of weird sensor record on his TARDIS. It's not too hard to imagine. Or he could just freaking calculate it like an estimate, because he didn't name it down to the individual number. It was like a fraction of a million. So that could easily be a census figure or something. So yeah, he had that moment there where he was sort of the darker version again, but it didn't last very long. It's true.
Which I would have loved to have seen more of Darker Tennant. I loved Darker Tennant. I mean, yeah, he was great when he was lighthearted, but it was his ability to switch back and forth between the two. He was actually able to do really chilling Doctor.
Yeah.
Really well.
He was.
He just felt wasted in this thing, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say totally wasted, but some wasted potential. It was fun to see him, even so, with all the complaints you just made.
One thing absolutely does not make sense to me. The scene with the screwdriver. The War Doctor goes, hey, wait a minute. This is the same screwdriver as you're using.
Yep.
Which is the same screwdriver that you're using.
Yep.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is. Not Rose, but the moment pointed out same software, different casing.
I was under the impression that she was talking about, the doctors, not the screwdrivers.
She was talking about the screwdrivers.
No, she was talking about the doctors. He took that and made an idea and had the idea. Hey, wait a minute, this is the same screwdriver but different casing. Well, no. First off, no, it isn't. First off, Tennant lost several sonic screwdrivers during his run.
Yeah.
Including one he gave away to River Song.
Well, we haven't seen the incarnation that gave a screwdriver to River Song yet, actually.
Well,
he never gives her the screwdriver. It's
that
all
we see.
That we see. Okay, he might have done it off screen, but it was never confirmed.
Well, yeah, but anyways, so he gives the screwdriver to River Song, and then the screwdriver exploded in Eleven's first outing.
Yep, and he made a new one out of
and then he lost another one in the Flash.
To my mind, it just seemed very easy to imagine. Oh, the screwdriver backs up to the TARDIS every once in a while. So he makes a new one. It loads in the old software. I mean, that's not too hard to imagine.
I guess.
He should have said that, I guess. The software backups would have continued after it was destroyed. Like, a little one-off line would have been nice to explain it.
And furthermore, if immediately afterwards they have immediately after they start this whole thing, and they're about to do this, then Clara walks in. So, what? Did they just keep the program running even though they knew they didn't need it?
They didn't know they didn't need it at that point.
The War Doctor, if they're talking about using continuity to continuous time stream.
Well, no, but none of them remember this after the fact.
Yeah, but he should have immediately... You don't need to remember it after the fact. You just need to say, oh, I don't need this anymore since you're right there next to me, 3 feet in front of me, and press the off button on the run program for several hundred years.
True, but then you would... potentially mess with your own timeline a little bit there, and everything's wonky as it is. So maybe don't mess with it anymore. I know what you're saying though. It's I mean, weird time things are always going on, and especially in a multi-Doctor episode, it's hard to keep track.
And this leads me to another complaint about the War Doctor himself. He's disappointing.
And that's where I'd like to rant. Yeah.
The War Doctor has, since his first appearance. His first appearance was at the end of The Name of the Doctor, where it was all about what little we saw of him. He was someone who did something so horrendously evil that later incarnations of the Doctor deny that he exists.
Yep.
He was the Doctor that did the things none of the other Doctors could.
Yep.
He abandoned the title of the Doctor, the healer, the one who makes it all better.
Yep.
And yet, you expect this cold and ruthless general who stands astride a battlefield, seeing 10,000 Time Lords dead before him, and a fleet of Daleks rusting in orbit.
Yeah.
And you expect him to say, yes, this was a victory for us. Someone who takes the battlefield calculus and takes it to ruthless extremes, sacrificing entire cities, galaxies, even years of reality itself in order to achieve a goal.
Yep.
And yet he feels more like a classic Doctor
He
than
honestly
anything else.
felt, not that I know much about classic Doctor, but he felt like first Doctor reincarnated because he was just older and grumpier. So I was saying earlier when he specifically when 8 specifically turns into a warrior form. Like this is, brought up to us, so we know it was intentional. He had a potion. The thing was prepared by the sister herself, whatever her name was. And he's not actually especially warlike at all. I mean, he kills Daleks. But okay, 11 has killed Daleks in Asylum. Remember?
10 has killed Daleks.
So it's 10 actually. Yeah, but
and 9. No, wait, actually did 9. No, he didn't actually kill Daleks.
he watched while that one Dalek blew itself up, and no, what did he? No, he stood by while Rose killed all the Daleks. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to Rose.
All
Don't
right,
worry. We'll get to Rose.
Okay, so he kills Daleks, but like the other Doctors do that. He's willing to sacrifice his people for a greater cause, but 10 made a very similar decision in Fires of Pompeii, right? He blew up a city to save a world. This is a Doctor who blew up a world or a species to save the universe. Like,
9 was prepared to sacrifice the entire Earth in order to destroy the Daleks once and for all.
But he did stop at the last moment, so that is different.
But he was getting ready to.
He was getting ready, but then he stopped. So, but
And
10
11
actually hit the button. Like, frick it, blow up Pompeii.
And 11's made lots of speeches like that, saying, I'm the Doctor, I can blow up civilizations if I want to. He blew up an entire cyber fleet.
That's true. He did blow up an entire cyber fleet while, framed it perfectly so it'd be right behind Rory and we could all see it.
Can you imagine how that would have gone if it had gone just slightly differently? Now I'll ask again. Except maybe this time we should have the ship rotated a little more so that it's in frame of the other ships.
Yeah.
So that would make my statement more impressive and you don't just, oh God, I'm being stabbed.
That's okay. He'd come back.
He always comes back.
Yeah,
with a
I know.
bad penny.
But okay. But the War Doctor, he
didn't
incarnates him personally. Then he gets plenty of experience as a warrior, right? We see him, shooting a wall actually.
Oh, so this makes the worst thing that the War Doctor did graffiti. Oh no!
I know, and then he rams his TARDIS through some Daleks, which again, like other Doctors have killed Daleks, not especially ruthless. But here's what really stands out to me, right? Here's our big, incredible warrior guy who's been fighting Daleks for years, plenty of years in his timeline actually, because he starts off really young-faced, and then he becomes older. When he gets surrounded by some medieval guards, he is caught completely flat-footed. The man carries no weapons whatsoever.
Here's what would have established him as a ruthless person. Grabs his screwdriver. It's not a sonic. It's laser. He just decapitates all of them and is like, well, how are we going to fix this portal then? And goes back to that
Right.
And the Doctor's like, what the shit, man? How could you do that? You just murdered humans.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, they were trying to kill me. So, it all works out in the end. And
Right.
he just completely forgets it.
He doesn't have even any a bit of kung fu or even an attempt to run away for that matter. He's like,
it's canonical that the Doctors all have kung fu. Ever since 3, who had Venusian Aikido.
Well, true. Though they don't always use it that way. But here's a warrior. Basically, he's given a physical threat against him and has absolutely no plans, no even desire to deal with it. He's just like, whatever. I'll just get arrested. If he'd had a weapon and then the other two had taken it away just before that encounter.
My God, if this is his standard strategy, it's no wonder that they lost the Time War.
I mean, it's like, how can he stand up to Daleks if he can't stand up to random medieval dudes?
You know what I kind of wanted? I want him to carry a gun.
Yeah. And he just blow people's heads off. I mean, I wouldn't be too gory, but he'd be this, I'll just kill you type of guy.
Yes, make him an actual scary person. Or at least something that makes it so that he's the anathema of the Doctor.
Right. Now, I can get it that he has to be the Doctor underneath it, so you wouldn't want to, plain old Duke Nukem I love killing, but it would be I kill because I have to. I'm sorry, I feel bad about this, but I have
Nukem.
to. Doc Nukem.
Yeah, Doc Nukem.
So you could do, and John Hurt, I'm sure, would be able to pull off that script. You could see it in his eyes, I can imagine anyway, of him feeling guilty about this, but he's doing it anyway. And then you would know he's the Doctor at the core, but he's more ruthless than usual. And instead he's like, okay, let's just get captured. And then they lock him in a cell in the tower that's made of rocks and wood, and he can't escape. It's even unlocked and he can't escape.
My God.
I mean, I get the joke, but man, that would be a good joke for 10 or 11, but don't put it on War Doctor.
Maybe individually. Yes. But having 3 Doctors at once, not bothering to check the door to see if it's unlocked, that's just an insult against their intelligence.
And with War Doctor's portrayal already being kind of wonky, you didn't want to add that to his What? You think the guy could just blow up the door?
You think he'd be like, well, I'm the war doctor, pulls out a plastic fucking explosive and slams it into the door. Stand back. Boom! The entire tower goes up in flames.
Yeah, he was contrasted with 10 and 11 only in the sense that he was grumpier than they were. Like, they said funny little things, and he didn't say funny little things because he's grumpy. And I was like, you need more than that, Moffat. I mean, everything we just said, you know?
Yeah, it's...
Eh.
Give us a... With Voldemort, we saw a reason why he was he who must not be named.
Yeah.
He murdered, he tortured, he did dark, horrific experiments.
Right.
This, the War Doctor?
Right.
I mean,
I'll tell you, I planned out...
For someone like the Doctor, who has fought against Davros, who once used corpses to fuel an empire.
Yeah.
For someone who has faced against against Cybermen in the Cyber Wars, who has fought against rogue Santarans, Slitheen, the Lizard People, the Sea Devils, so many thousands of threats, and this is the one that he cannot bring himself to name. Maybe he, at this rate, he should not. Oh, we do not speak of the first of my first incarnation. He was grumpy too, and he traveled with Susan.
Now,
Ooh, the horror! He was disgruntled.
Yeah. Now, I'll grant,
and he did graffiti on a wall. Oh no!
Now, I will grant the one fact that makes the War Doctor distinct is that until this story, at least, he was the Doctor who sacrificed his own people for a greater cause.
And I'm going to get into the stupid about that.
And we're going to get that later. But that's something that it makes him distinct, and that's something that the Doctor would feel tremendously guilty about. But you should have played that up through his whole personality. He can't just be a regular Doctor who happens to have made this terrible choice. He has to be a different sort of Doctor, especially when you had him incarnating into warrior form on purpose in the first place. He has to be more of a warrior, and he has to have a weapon at least, and he has to be able to deal with medieval guards like pretty freaking easily. Yeah.
I understand. If John Hurt isn't physically able to, kick all of the asses, that's understandable.
But they could do technology-based. He could pull up a gun, he could do something like that, yeah.
River's Song could do that. She did do it.
Yeah, she did. She shot a Dalek in the face.
Well, heck with shot a Dalek. She threatened a Roman legion with a laser pistol.
That's true.
That's pretty cool right there.
Okay. So yeah.
Okay, and here's the weapon. This is another moment of contention that I have.
Okay.
The moment. Now, I don't mind having Rose Tyler come back.
Mm-hmm.
If it was actually Rose Tyler. This would actually made a really good story. Rose and 10 are the ones who meet up with 11 and Clara.
Sort of plucked out of the middle of their time stream and their memories get erased at the end type of thing.
Precisely, just like the rest of them.
That was something, because in previous Multi-Doctor episodes, they brought companions along, and the companions would bounce off each other, right? Mm-hmm. And they would show different perspectives on their doctors and each other, and we didn't have that.
School Reunion was a great example of that with Sarah Jane. And they were like comparing their adventures.
Yeah.
Oh, I've met Daleks. I met the Emperor.
Mummies on Mars.
And then finally, the Loch Ness Monster. Really? That's the one you can't top. That was a great episode.
Yeah.
But instead we get this thing where Rose is chosen for some reason.
Because the fans wanted to see her, really. That was all.
But it doesn't make sense from the War Doctor's perspective. If he wanted to have if the moment was this self-aware thing...
Yeah.
Well, one, I argued that if it's a weapon, and it's self-aware weapon, then it should at least want to accomplish its purpose, which is killing. Well, that's...
you could imagine, there's plenty of AI stories where the AI wants to do something else than its original design. So you could imagine it being I'm not sure about the whole killing thing.
Okay, but it shouldn't take the War Doctor on a vision quest to see, this is what you will become. A guy with a tiny sonic screwdriver and a guy with a fez. Ooh.
I know, right? Because I guess it's part of the idea there was like, you will become a man who regrets this forever. But
Show 9, then. Have him shadowing like 9. I know you couldn't get Christopher Eccleston, but like show him from far away and behind, and like have his voice amplified to show some of the things he's willing to do. This is how it has damaged you, Doctor.
you could actually, he could like hear the audio of 9 freaking out when he finds that Dalek in that one, facility thing, and telling the Dalek to go kill himself and everything like that.
And I'll get to that moment again later. But
yeah, so,
why Rose Tyler? You know what? Susan. Have it be the Doctor's granddaughter if it wants to have a real impact.
Yeah.
Because from all...
Oh my God, she would totally say... Well, no, she would. Oh my God, did Susan die at the end of the Time War?
Well...
That would totally be a thing. She would show up as Susan and said, "You always said you would come back, and now you're breaking your promise."
Oh, dude. See? That would have been better than having Rose. I mean, granted...
And that'd be excellent for 50th anniversary, too, because it's such a long way back that, like, that'd be so historical.
It's his first companion.
Yeah, yeah.
It was his companion before he had companions.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
Yeah. Yeah, no. Rose was brought in specifically just because the fans wanted to see her. I can understand that fans wanted to see her, but it didn't work in the story that they had. And it would have been better if she'd been an actual companion plucked from the time stream along with 10 and just show up as Rose. Be Rose. It'd be fine.
Yeah, be Rose.
It'd have to be longer, but yeah.
And she has more than earned the rights to stand in the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see Ace there, too. The character that created the crowning moment of awesome trope on TV tropes for beating the tar out of a Dalek with a baseball bat.
Yep, that's awesome. Awesome.
In fact, that actually formed the Ace, what's known as the Ace test of companions. Can you see this companion beating the tar out of a Dalek with a baseball bat?
Yeah.
If no, get out of the TARDIS, bitch.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay, so the moment...
Can I make a small note about the moment? Again, nomenclature. Could we call it like the golden moment, or the eternal moment, or the something other? Because when you just call it the moment, I feel like that gets confusing. And people are like, at that moment, no, not, I meant the moment like time, and not the moment like just the, you know what I mean? Like.
And why did he have to do it on friggin' Arrakis? Why did he have to do it in the middle of a hut on, like, Tatooine? Why couldn't he have done it like, okay, I'll go to somewhere where it's not shitty and hell-like?
Well, why does he care what the weather's like because he's blowing everything up? Like, I did like the idea...
Because I'd like to be able to get back to the TARDIS since I'm probably going to die of dehydration.
Well, he intended to kill himself, though.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, then never mind then.
And, I mean, I like kind of the idea...
Okay, well, if he's going to activate the moment, why not just activate it in the middle of the Time Lord vault? Why did he have to go to a place to activate it to begin with?
He might have been apprehended in the meantime.
Why did he leave the TARDIS if he was afraid of being apprehended and then walked for looked like at least an hour before?
Because it was a deserted planet, and as the moment points out, he doesn't want the TARDIS to see.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's sentient now, ever since the Neil Gaiman episode.
Well, it's been hinted at that it's been sentient for a while.
Right, it's official now.
Okay.
But yeah, I would have preferred to call it, something slightly longer, just more distinctive. And it would still have moment in the title, so it'd be fine, so that when you go back and watch the End of Time, the council refers to it as the moment, and that would just be, they're using the short name, its official name is something else. That's a small thing to me. So they have this super weapon that they have not used because it might blow them up, which I guess makes sense because it does end up blowing them up.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. In the first run through, it ends up blowing them up. It was capable of that,
And then there's the aesthetics of the weapon also bother me. It looks like it was assembled in Girl Genius. It looks steampunk.
Steampunk can be cool. I mean, we all like the
steampunk should be cool.
Robots and what's their name?
Yes, they can be cool. Here's the thing, though. When I think galaxy-obliterating bomb capable of erasing time forward and backwards throughout all of history, I do not think made by a watchmaker. I'm thinking, make this shit look futuristic. Make it like a black plastic. Like, with like lights that light up from the inside.
Yeah, I could do. I mean, I can get behind this sort of idea of it's like deceptively simple in appearance, type of deal. And it looks like it's a clockwork thing, but underneath is a great power you cannot comprehend. Sort of like a form to, what was that phrase is called? It's
a form you were comfortable with?
Yeah, almost like that,
So the greatest power in the universe is hidden behind the same technology that makes Big Ben work.
But better. I don't know. It's clock themed, obviously. Here's what I didn't get, and this has been a thing forever. And for the longest time, they just hadn't delved into this in detail, so it didn't matter. But the question to me is, why is this an all or nothing choice? Why do you have to kill all Time Lords and all Daleks all at once, or do nothing? Why can't you just kill all the Daleks and leave the Time Lords alone? Or if the Time Lords are dicks, because we saw Rassilon was a dick, how about we kill all the dick Time Lords and leave the children alive, at least?
Well, I don't think bombs really discriminate.
But this is a super sentient bomb thing. And it's not, it doesn't just
Maybe
explode.
if we understood what the moment actually was, we wouldn't be having this problem.
Well, I would imagine...
Or did the doctor just say, no moment, and then he just went and stabbed everyone?
I mean, because, you think he would ask, can you please kill the Daleks? And then she would say, oh, no, what I do is I mess with timelines, and here, I'll visualize it for you. There's a big tangle of time, and basically I can slice through the whole thing like a Gordian knot, but that'll kill everyone, and that's my only option. I can't do anything less than that. It's how I work. He doesn't even ask. He doesn't even think to ask, like, hey, are there alternate options to this bomb of yours? You're sentient. It's not like there's a one-button thing here.
Well, at that point, the Time Lords and the Daleks, he stated, were both, so
right,
bad.
Right, but even so, don't kill the children. Hey, do you have a don't kill children setting in your sentient weapon? Just ask, just the question, and then she could say no, and then I'd be satisfied.
Oh, there's no don't kill children. There is a don't kill roosters, though. Why do we have that button?
Time roosters.
Bark, bark, bark.
Bark, bark, bark. Oh my gosh, that's totally gonna make an episode now of like a weird rooster that it actually causes the sun to rise by crowing.
I think there's been movies about that sort of thing. But whatever.
Yeah, Rockadoodle. Was the name of the movie.
Yeah, but anyway, so
he didn't ask, so I found that weird.
Okay, so what other things?
Zygons we haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah, the Zygons.
36 minutes into this.
The Zygons are a great piece of Doctor Who history.
Yeah.
But there's a couple problems with using them. The Zygon plot felt like another whole plot of a Doctor Who episode that was tacked onto this one.
It was, honestly. If you think about it, suppose that the Zygons had not shown up at all. So 10 and 11 and War Doctor still would have met, and they would have just jumped backwards through the portal. They would have wound up at the moment, and they would have had that scene we had at the end. And nothing at all would be different. It
wouldn't.
The whole thing was a Shaggy Dog story,
You could have had this as a whole 11 story.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no purpose for 10 and War to be there.
Now, the idea of it, I'm sure, was, okay, we'll have the doctors give them something to do so they can interact and they learn about each other. And I guess of that, the most important thing is the scene in the tower where they're comparing, I'm the one who did it, you're the one who regrets, you're the man who forgets, this is how it all ends up for us. But the Zygons weren't involved in the Time War at all. Why can't we have a plot that's involved in the mechanics of the Time War? And the freaking Daleks show up, and we could interact while killing some Daleks or something,
Mm-hmm.
And then we would have a contrast of methods. The War Doctor would be in one section of the ship, just blowing the shit out of everything, and the other two doctors would be using trickery and more subtle tactics, and we would see the difference.
Tennant would be using technology and gadgets.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. It would be less ruthless than the War Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And for that matter, and I've written a whole alternate plot. I thought, what would make sense is if the moment is actually a combination of Time Lord and Dalek technology. And the Doctor bursts into his own people's stuff, grabs their most important thing, bursts into the Daleks' main base, grabs their most important thing, he combines it in a way that neither of the two sides had even imagined, then he blows them both up.
It is a blender that is also a toaster!
And this would explain why
it's capable of making a peanut butter and jelly milkshake. This power is too great for one society to control.
Anyway, that would explain why neither of the two sides have been able to obliterate the other, because neither one of them had the full weapon. Mm-hmm. And then, if you're going to involve that, you could have an obvious plot where via some time rifts and whatever, the 10 and 11 get sucked into this, and they all end up sort of maybe helping each other, maybe working against each other. They don't even know who they are for a beginning, and then they realize, oh crap, that guy in the shadows turns out to be the War Doctor, blah, blah, blah. Just make everything involved in the Time War. Wouldn't that be great?
Here's another problem I have with the Zygon plot.
Yeah.
The Doctor is somehow able to make the... Okay, first off, how the hell did they get into the painting when... Okay, they travel back in time to get into the painting, to the scene where the painting takes place of Gallifrey Falls.
I think they got into the painting and not into the scene of it, but maybe they were in the scene of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but how did they get into it and how did they get out? I mean, did they just kick a Dalek into the? Did they break the fourth wall so hard with with a dead Dalek that it just?
That's true.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, if we were to assume that the Doctor is capable of waving his magic sonic screwdriver,
Yeah.
and saying, "Okay, now neither of you can remember which species you are," then here's the thing: you're probably going to default. One, how do you not know what your species is? Do humans have venom sacs and suckers inside of their bodies? Nope, I must be a Zygon.
Yeah.
And two, if both of them think that they are the real Lethbridge Stewart
Yeah.
Jr.,
Kate.
Kate Lethbridge Stewart, then neither of them is going to stop the countdown because they believe that the other side is the enemy. And that they're going to, even if they are the bad guy, then they're going to be saving the human race, which they've sworn their lives to defend, especially on the memory of the person they believe is their grandfather. So they're going to let the countdown to continue. So what should have happened is that they say, continue the countdown. And 11's last moment before the Doctor is obliterated in a nuclear explosion is, oh shit. And then boom, he's gone. And so is London.
Okay, wait, a couple of things. First up, she's the Brigadier's daughter, isn't she? Not granddaughter.
Daughter, sorry.
Okay.
We were talking about Susan earlier.
Yeah, right. Secondly, I was doing multiple things at once here, but okay. So we're on that bit where he's messing with the memories. I think the impression was that having messed with their minds, he also messed with the come out of form ability for Zygons. So he couldn't just mentally do that. So they couldn't know oh wait, here are my suckers. And that furthermore, they didn't both think they were the real Kate. They both think, oh crap, I don't know which one I am. Was the idea of it. It still doesn't really work in my mind. Because the notion is they're going to make a treaty. And that will be pleasing to both sides and fair to both sides because no one knows which side they're on. But eventually they're going to get their memories back. And then the Zygons will say, frick treaties, let's invade the Earth.
Or someone could easily argue that the treaty was made under duress and thus was null and void.
Right, as if Zygons cared about law anyway. But yeah, the Kate side could argue, hey, under duress, what the frick?
And also, if neither side, how does that even work? How do you not know what species you are?
I mean, you're in a shape-shifted form, and if you can't shape-shift back, I could imagine.
Yeah, but does that mean you only have memories of your life of back to 5 minutes? In which case, shouldn't you not know how to breathe, and you would everyone in the room just falls over dead?
I don't know.
Because of suffocation. Then the nuke explodes anyways and kills the Doctor and all of London.
I'd rather focus on the notion of this nuke. Now I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring up a grand sacrifice scenario, so 10 and 11 can say, don't do that, it's a bad idea. Which, by the way, in the tower, I guess, who's it said this? Somebody said, how many times have you had to make the calculation? No, I guess it was in the Black Lark. Whatever. Somebody said, no, Kate said, I'm crazy. Kate said, look, we're going to blow up London to save a planet. How many times have you made that calculation? And 11 says, once. And I went, no, twice. Fires of Pompeii, remember? No? Okay, never mind.
More than once. Remember, remember when you, the most famous episode of Doctor Who ever, Genesis of the Daleks, when he debated about the morality of killing all the Daleks versus letting a species evolve on its own?
Though he didn't kill them in that case, so that is a little different. It's the ones where he actually does it.
Yeah, but he considers killing them all.
He considers it, yeah. Anyway, but...
So that's three times. 3 times we can just pick off the top of our head. That, yeah. So he is the Doctor that forgets.
Right, that'd be interesting. Okay, so... I forgot what I was saying. Okay, so... they're trying to bring a grand sacrifice scenario so 10 and 11 could say, no, don't do it. It causes too much regret. There must be another way. But the way they bring up this scenario is so weird. It goes like this. The Zygons attack. They do some cool, sneaky stuff. Shapeshifters always make for good tension.
Oh, yeah.
And then one of them turns out to be Kate, and Clara's there, and Clara barely gets away, and that was all right. And then they have control of the Black Archive. Okay, we have all this advanced technology. First off, I'm a little unclear how, even with advanced technology, these 3 Zygons are going to conquer the world. But whatever, I guess it's really advanced, and maybe they have backup troops somewhere.
Maybe there's like personal shield generators.
Right. And then,
in which case, why don't they have like a researcher? I mean, if this was any sane universe, okay, meaning any universe that I would be,
Yeah.
I would be reverse engineering all of that stuff so that like in a week I could have clone super soldiers with personal shields and laser cannons.
Well, they had done a
arms.
little of that. They did blow up the what's it called on the Christmas Day special. The Christmas invasion.
Yeah.
So clearly we've got some alien tech. But here's what gets me. Real Kate is outside the archive, figures out what happens, walks into the archive unarmed. Hey, maybe you should call a unit and march in there with like a bunch of guys with guns and just shoot the Zygons.
Or, if you're not sure which is real or not, then you should probably have a protocol of some kind, considering Zygons and other shapeshifters have infiltrated the Earth before. You should have some sort of protocol that says, hey, if there's a duplicate of me found, then tie me up, stick me in a cell, stick my duplicate in another cell, and, find out which one of us is the real one.
Right. Or if she felt that the the soldiers perhaps wouldn't shoot Zygon Kate. At this point, she has her memories. She knows she's the real Kate. Why doesn't she just get a regular pistol, walk in there, and personally shoot Zygon Kate? Now, you might say, oh, that's too ruthless. But she's about to blow up London, so she's clearly on that sort of mindset.
She's the daughter of the Brigadier. She's not the kind of person that you fuck around with.
Yeah. I mean,
blowing up aliens is kind of in her blood.
Right, and I could get it if, like,
and at least some of that blood is probably aliens, given how many aliens she's blown up.
I could get it if she was caught in an unguarded moment and just was unarmed, and like, okay, because she's a science person, she's not like actually combat person normally. But in a situation where she's willing to go blow up London, you think she would also be willing to walk in there with a pistol and a couple of grenades.
Or a knife. Hell, a knife. You
All right, and she walks in, she's like, I'm unarmed. And it's true, she's unarmed, along with her
Why
cohorts.
are you unarmed?
But beyond that, as soon as the Zygon Kate realizes she is unarmed, just jump her. That's what you did in the first place, right? Because they had her, she was all stuck.
What's stopping you now?
She was stuck with goo to the wall. Just do it again. They're doing this whole voice thing, counterman, counter. I'll just gag you, why don't I? Just shove something down her throat. You're a Zygon. You're not polite about this sort of crap. Just, like, stop her from talking. Just
You're a giant space cucumber. Shut her up.
I understand you can't kill her because you need the live feed, but, like, put her on the wall with the goo, like last time. And no one thinks of this. They're just arguing, like, purely verbal. No, like, on the other side of the table, go punch other Kate. She's right there.
Or
no
bite
sense.
her. You have poison glands.
You know, it would make sense. Why not? There could be a shield generator in there somewhere, and somehow they both wind up on opposite sides of the shield. And then, logically, they can't physically attack each other, and that could be a thing, right? That would have made more sense. And then real Kate would totally have the pistol and be like ineffective against the shield, But like she would have brought it along, And oh, now it's not working, but at least I tried.
Oh, it'd be great. Like she shoots, it ricochets and hits her in the leg, and the doctor does the memory trick again. Now, neither of you knows which one of you is real and which one of you is activate self-destruct. But how do you know which one? I'm the one that's bleeding, you ass.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Then he would have to shoot the other Kate and then do it again. Okay, second time around.
Wait, since we both think we're the real Kate, we would sacrifice ourselves to make sure that the
Yeah. All right. So that was just weird. The way
and why
that
does
all
it have
came
to be
out.
a nuclear explosive? Why not just have like the ceiling have explosives along it, and in case something's in it, the ceiling just collapses, and crushes them under several tons of debris.
Yeah, that could be nice. I don't know.
Why does it have to be nuclear explosives? I mean, yes, nuclear explosives are cool.
Yeah.
And they're kind of science fiction-y as
Yeah.
is.
And certainly SG-1 has resorted to that several times.
Oh, yeah.
Activate the nuke on our own base again.
Again.
They totally had a committee meeting about that. Like, how many times have you activated that nuke? You know? So I could understand it being a nuke for like, so there is no better kill than overkill type of feeling.
Oh, yeah.
But why you wouldn't walk in with a pistol is just baffling to me. And then the whole painting thing. Yeah, this is confusing. So the idea, I mean, we find these paintings and they've been busted out from the inside, and later it's like, aha, the Zygons are invading the past or invading the future via the past, you know. And that was kind of cool. And like, you know, oh, these figures, you know, they didn't used to, or they used to be have figures in them, and you're like, what? And then the whole thing with they were hiding where they killed the statues and stuff. Apparently they breathe very quietly, but that's okay.
They turn into... One was capable of hiding as a horse. I think breathing
Yeah, that's true.
is
That's
not
true.
the worst thing.
It's true. Okay, so this is all cool, but it got blurry when it because okay, first off they have a button that like puts you into a painting. Like, okay, I guess that's a thing. And then separately, the doctors all get into that Gallifrey painting, but a Gallifrey painting is not like a regular oil painting. It's like a 3D moment of time thing, which led to the thought of, are they clicking a button to get in there, or did they go back in time to Gallifrey to get in there? And if they went
And
back
if so,
in time...
I thought there was a time lock around the whole Time War, so that meant no one
Right.
could... Wasn't that a plot point in The Stolen Earth that Dalek Khan was
Yeah.
completely insane from breaking through the time lock?
Right, now I guess maybe the moment is interfering, but that wasn't clear. She didn't go like, aha, now I will bring you back to the Time War, or something like that. Or, not that I noticed. And then they get out, and then they, like, punched a Dalek to death. And that was a little confusing, because I thought, was the Dalek, did he click a button to get into the painting with them? And then I'm thinking, no, wait, it's a different painting. You don't have two separate painting mechanisms in one episode. You know, like, come up with rules and stick to them. And then...
I don't care if you have bullshit in your stories, just keep it consistent.
Right, it was a little confusing. And then it was, okay, we'll preserve Gallifrey like a painting. And I was like, wait, is it the painting we've been looking at? Is that Gallifrey? Or is that just a moment of Gallifrey, but it's not Gallifrey?
And that was the most face-palming moment of the episode.
Is Gallifrey somewhere else? Is it floating in space? It's like a framed painting of Gallifrey. Like there it is. Is it somewhere else?
Is it like in Superman where like you see the painting of Gallifrey tumbling through space, and then the other way is Zod and the other Kryptonian criminals bashing on the mirror thing?
Did they send it to the Phantom Zone? Right. You think they would have been like, aha, we've transferred it to Nether space or something, which is outside normal space, and then you would know what the frick they just did.
And you know, if you made the painting, then shouldn't you know where the painting is?
I don't think it's even a painting, but it's like a painting, which was confusing, and it was the climax of everything, and you don't want that to be confusing. You want it to all click.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It makes no sense. It's stupid on so many levels, especially if you've watched The End of Time. The Doctor was horrified when he learned that Gallifrey was breaking through the time lock, because not only were the Time Lords on Gallifrey, so were armies of the Daleks,
Yep.
the
Could have been
hordes
king.
of travesties, the should-have-been king and his army of never-wers,
The Nightmare Child.
the Nightmare Child, the
would've loved to
thing
see
that
that.
killed Davros.
Yeah.
Davros, the character with Joker immunity.
Yeah.
And this thing is going to be released onto the galaxy. And he's like, nope, let's do it this time. And, you know, and later he's like, no, don't do it, you idiot. Oh, and let's not forget, the High Council of the Time Lords and the Master are now back on Gallifrey, where they were safely locked away, about to die when the Time War ended.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. The Time Lords, the High Council of the Time Lords, we didn't convince them to stop with the whole destroy the universe to become gods thing. We never did. All we did was defeat them, and then they went back in time to the Time War.
Back into the lock.
So, congratulations. You've set free the guys willing to blow up everything in order to become gods, and the Master.
Okay, wait. He didn't set anybody free, though. That is a critical point. He
ma-
froze them painting style in time. So that it's like a Phantom Zone thing.
Yeah, but congratulations. The instant that it is set free, which is probably the reason why he froze it in the first place, so he could set it free at a later date. All those things are going to be released, overrun the universe, and kill us.
I presume he was going to do it piecemeal. I mean, like, that seemed to me like he's going to go and, like, save one child at a time someday, you know. At which
and
point,
shouldn't he realize he'll never find it at this point, since, you know, you'd think that he'd be like, oh, yeah, there's no more Time Lords and TARDIS is running around. I must be the last one.
Well,
or are they hiding really well?
They're in a painting thing somewhere. I don't know.
But once they're set free, do you think they're all just going to go, yeah, we're the Time Lords, but we're not going to go through time and space anymore?
Well, okay, time is in flux because the Time Lords disappearing at all was itself a timey-wimey thing, right? Because they don't show up in any era of history except for the Master. But aside from that, right, all their previous travels disappear somehow. So they get erased all the way from time, and I guess they can be reinserted all the way through time. Now I get the idea of this. A lot of people complain this is just Moffat trying to unwrite everything that wasn't his. I can get the idea of the Doctor went through great guilt, and now he finds salvation. Like, he finds a way out. He finds a way to restore some of his, dignity, I guess. Not quite dignity.
I did not like that whole concept of it. The concept of the Time War to me was the Doctor's Kobayashi Maru. The Doctor had always gotten by clever tricks or manipulations. He almost always won. But even if he did win, yeah, we lost a little bit. We might have lost a companion. But in the end, the universe was saved. This was a scenario where the only options were the universe or his own people. And he chose the universe. No-win scenario.
Yeah.
He is the last of the Time Lords.
Yeah.
And this, I feel, just... It removes a huge amount of emotional drama from the series. The shock and horror that the Doctor feels upon meeting the Dalek for the first time after the Time War. Okay, that's okay now, but it's not really the last of the Daleks.
Well,
it's not,
that was established already, but yeah,
okay,
yeah.
It's not. Yeah. He doesn't really have a reason to feel sad because the Time Lords still exist.
Yeah.
It just feels like a guy who's crying because Illinois hasn't legalized gay marriage yet.
They have. What do you mean?
Precisely.
Oh.
Because he just doesn't know one fact that makes him sad.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying. It does sort of tear things out. I guess it would have been neat if something had happened along the lines of, okay, he didn't undo, what we thought he had done. He did sort of kill the Time Lords, but sort of off to the side, by some loophole, some of them escaped.
Yes, have him can transfer a whole bunch of Time Lord citizens, normal citizens, into a painting. Have him do that, not the entire planet.
That would be actually pretty neat, because you could imagine him looking at that, if it was a painting, literally. You could be looking at the painting, and it would be a neat little sort of conflict there, because isn't that great that I've saved some of them, but it's still a reminder of how many I didn't save, and then Clara would sort of comfort him and be like, it's okay, you did the best you could, Or you could do the whole Lost in Space type of deal where they're preserved in a weird energy bubble thing, which is somewhere in the universe, teleported and frozen in time, let's say. And he's on a quest now. And I did like this idea of a new quest of okay, over the next several seasons, he's going to try and find Gallifrey, or in this case, find a small band of survivors.
Yeah, but I have zero faith in Moffat to actually do that for a simple reason. He seems completely incapable of sticking to one storyline.
Well, the idea, so far he's been made storylines that last for one season on purpose. That seemed to make sense.
Oh, okay, really? Because he leaves elements hanging and then doesn't really resolve them. Okay, why was the TARDIS exploding? Who are the Silents? And why did we suddenly stop caring about them after we went to the crazy weirdo world where everything was that moment in time? What happened to his whole thing about I don't want the universe to remember me at all? Did that just stop all of a sudden?
Well, it hasn't, but, he didn't try to get remembered this time. He didn't remember himself, 2 of his incarnations even.
That's not what I meant. I meant, there was that whole series of episode where he tried to delete himself from history completely
Yeah.
so that everyone would forget what he'd done.
Yeah.
And yet when he finds out that Unit knows exactly who he is, he does nothing. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they
it's just like,
mentioned-
I don't want to be remembered. And then that's suddenly gone one episode, and they never revisit it.
I'm not clear. I mean, I kind of felt like there was an exception for some of his closest allies, and Unit was close enough that he cared. But
Unit
yeah,
created a TARDIS-proof bunker.
okay, true. He might not have known about that when he allowed them to know his identity. I would have been nice to expound on that a little more clearly. I'll give you that.
On all that stuff.
And stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. So the preservation of a few stragglers would have been nice.
Yes. And why did he pull
You know, it would be interesting, just randomly, if we're going to involve... Okay, we had Susan as the moment in there. Imagine if actual Susan was there, and he does something to save Susan, and she winds up sacrificing her safety to save, 100 other Time Lords.
And what if that's the reason why they don't refer to him ever as the Doctor? Because in the end, fighting a war to stop the Daleks, sure, we could excuse that as it's ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still trying to help in some way.
Right.
Sometimes healing, sometimes being a doctor means healing with medicine. Sometimes it means with explosives and guns.
Yes.
But what if that's the reason why they don't call him the Doctor? Because he failed to save his own family.
Yeah, I could see that. Something along those lines. Yeah, Susan should have been in there somewhere. That would have made, and that line that I mentioned earlier would have been a good line. And yeah, a story about the Doctor learning to live with his guilt rather than rewriting everything so he doesn't have to feel guilty would have made for a deeper experience for the audience.
For a story about I said the Time Lord was his Kobayashi Maru. Kirk's Kobayashi Maru was Wrath of Khan, where he lost so much, but in the end learned more deeply about himself than ever before. He confronted inner truths about himself.
Yeah.
That's what the Time War was. The destruction of his people forced the Doctor to look back and consider who I am and where I'm going.
Right. Though, granted, your metaphor gets a little odd when you consider Star Trek 3. And they undid that whole thing, didn't they? But that worked for Star Trek 3. That's interesting. I didn't feel bugged that Spock was back. I felt that was enough of a journey of its own right that it still felt correct.
And it's... they brought Spock back. But bringing Spock back wasn't the... It didn't say to Kirk, oh, you can forget everything you've learned. Kirk still felt the loss of...
He lost his son in the meantime.
Yes.
So that's something.
So he had more loss.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I mean, I know they're not trying to write Jenna Louise Coleman out of this, but if she were leaving, this would be great. Because he could end up, she sacrifices herself to save some of his people, right? Mm-hmm. And he would get some of them back, but then he's lost a companion. So he still has lost something.
This feels like, honestly, is just them saying, it's like Korra. Honestly, you can do what you want with no consequences.
Kinda, yeah. I was reading an article by somebody. They made a lot of points I disagreed with. For instance, saying that Moffat was homophobic, and I was like, "What the frick about the gay, super badass FBI guy in America?"
Yeah,
how is that?
Was cool.
Yeah, that's anti-homophobia. That's gay people are badass. But one of the things they were saying was that Moffat tends to hit the reset button on stuff a lot.
He does.
Rory dies several times, and okay, that did make for kind of a cool title, "The Man Who Dies Again and Again." But you could also see, imagine if Rory had just died and we dealt with that, and that would be a whole darker, true, but a deeper story. Mm-hmm. He had he rewrote the whole universe one time, for what that counts.
Hang on. Imagine if this. Rory is brought back for the Pandorica because of Amy's memories or something.
Okay.
Or whatever reason it was.
Yeah.
But as soon as the universe is rewritten, he's gone.
Oh.
He's permanently gone.
Wow.
And he knows this whole time that he's erasing himself from existence by helping Amy, but he loves Amy so much.
Yeah, and then they could have a proper goodbye and everything. He would like reveal it as the Doctor's already en route to the sun, you know, or the fake sun, whatever. Yeah, that could be a thing. Also, the article is pointing out Amy grew up without parents because they had been erased from time, but she just sort of has forgotten them because of the time thing. And then she gets them back, which is awesome. And then they never come up again. And she doesn't like go through any change of character, you know, if someone.
Precisely.
You know, I mean, we met Rory's dad, but that's different, obviously. She didn't like, wow, this is a big deal. Suddenly I have family, and that makes me feel differently about something, you know. And then Clara's mom died when Clara was pretty young, right? Mm-hmm. It's important for exactly one episode. Is never mentioned again.
And it was an episode I pretty much hated because it was, we beat the god monster with a leaf.
That would have worked better if I had a better connection with Clara. I could understand, like, if this has been someone I've been with for 3 seasons, you know, and we had met her in a very deep way, the Leaf thing would have been good. But it was too early in her run, I think.
The Doctor, you know, defeating an incredibly powerful bad guy with an extremely simple thing, that can be awesome if it works well.
Yeah.
The Family of Blood, when they knocked Dr. John Smith down, and he was like...
He just presses some buttons on the way down, yeah.
Well, there's actually one thing. It turns out that those are the Gravitic stabilizers, so we're going to all crash and die. I'm the Doctor, by the way. I'm back, bitches. Bean!
Yeah. Back on the Clara thing, she nannies for 2 kids, right? And there's a dad in the house, but not a mom. I'm guessing maybe the mom is dead or they're divorced or something. They might have said, but I forgot if they did.
What happened to those kids?
I don't know what happened to the kids, but I was gonna say on the episode that involves the kids, yeah, they should have done. And this is again not my original idea; it's from that article. Clara talks to the kids about what it's like to lose your mother. They have that in common, right? I'm assuming the mom is dead, and you would structure the whole episode, the whole villain, whatever, in a way that would bring up that memory.
You know, I've never actually seen that episode.
Oh well, yeah, it wasn't that great. Mainly, I didn't like the kids very much. The actors weren't like that real to me. I don't blame them because they're kids, but just, you know, it happened. Okay, I did like the villain. I liked Mr. Clever. I liked certain aspects of that episode. Anyway, but Clara could have had a conversation about this, and we could have met them more deeply, you know. Rose had lost her father, and we got more into that. I mean, we did the whole Father's Day thing, which granted you can't do that same episode every time. But then we had like the alternate universe, and her other dad shows up, you know. We had, obviously, her mom is reacting to their divorce and all that stuff. You know, you don't exaggerate it because they don't bring it up every time, but there was a little more depth to everyone's real lives versus their TARDIS lives back in the Russell T Davies era versus the Moffat era.
Yeah. It feels like Moffat concentrates a little too much on the fantastical elements without focusing enough on the people elements.
Yeah, and it's not to say his characters are totally flat, because this is nothing, in that article the guy was saying, Amy's baby was stolen from her and she hardly bats an eye, and I'm like, do you remember the execution scene where she goes into Madam What's-Her-Name with the eye patch and freaking kills her because you took my baby away from me? Like, there were moments in there, but yeah, there could be more. It could just be more connected in stuff. There could be more development of people. And that gets back to what you're saying near the beginning of this about 10, and we only saw half of his personality and not developing the other. And he didn't have a companion to bounce things off of anyway. And the War Doctor was not developed as being a warrior, really. He doesn't even have a gun.
11 was the only one who had any decent characterization, and that's because Moffat's been writing 11 the same way this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I did sort of like that. You know, they're about to press the button, and they made me think they were going to do it. I thought that was the end of the episode.
I was hoping that they were going to do it.
Yeah, that could have been something.
And again, Sky Trench. The Sky Trenches are failing. There is no such thing as a Sky Trench, you fething idiot! Why are you calling it that? Is it a reference to World War I trench warfare? Well, that's still stupid, because that went out of style 100 years ago for us. Are you saying the Time Lords are less competent than humans at warfare? Wow, that actually explains so much of why they lost the Time War.
No. But yeah, I mean, you know, fun stuff. The Zygon stuff again, like Shapeshifter, just the default stuff is cool. Not knowing who's who, and they're sneaking up on you and whatever. Um,
The one scene that they cannot change.
Huh.
The 11 and 4 thing.
Oh, right.
That was like the single best moment.
I loved that. Yeah. I mean, first off, because it's a fan thing, and we get to see Fourth Doctor again.
The oldest surviving Doctor.
Oldest surviving Doctor. The longest serving Doctor too. I liked the intentionally ambiguous quality of it. I liked the hint that the Doctor's got a very long life ahead of him. So many more adventures, especially on the 50th anniversary. You like that hint. There's gonna be so much other stuff. Apparently, he must have another dozen regenerations because now he's going back through the fourth one. Because he feels like it or whatever. And he gets to settle down, and he retires, and he becomes this curator. But it's ambiguous. You don't know when it would happen, or even if it's the same guy. It might be a meta-crisis thing, for all you know.
Oh, that is the Fourth Doctor. Just my opinion, that is the Fourth Doctor.
Yeah.
He went forward in time just to talk to the 11. Because fuck you, that's why.
I've heard multiple theories. So the most obvious one is this is a future Doctor who has gained the ability to regenerate into specific forms when he feels like it. There's your Doctors. The Fourth Doctor showed up. And then I heard someone.
Remember the dorky girl with the long scarf?
the long scarf.
She got that from the curator.
Right.
So yeah,
right.
I'm going with that's the Fourth.
The one I love that I heard is that this is actually just Tom Baker, who just walked in and talked to the 11th Doctor. It's like an actor in that universe.
I changed my mind. That's my headcanon. That is my headcanon.
Tom Baker walks in.
Because apparently he's part Pinkie Pie. Actually, out of all the Doctors, I could see Tom Baker as being Pinkie Pie the most.
Yeah.
Ooh, Tom Baker and Pinkie Pie. The Fourth Doctor and Pinkie Pie's companion.
Oh.
That would be just the most amazing thing ever.
I would.
That pony, K9, that pony makes absolutely no sense. Affirmative, master.
Yeah, I liked that was a nice mood to set for the end of the episode too. It was calm. It was looking to the future. It was in the past at the same time, which works for an anniversary special as well as being Doctor Who. And then that moment at the end, even though the Gallifrey thing didn't make sense in the way we mentioned, the notion of him having this new quest of, again, we would have changed that, but he has a quest now. He's going to do a thing. He's looking forward to something. And he has a dream, and all 11 Doctors are there.
Do the thing.
Do the thing. No, but all 11 Doctors are there. No, you needed to end on a shot like that. I like that shot.
Oh, I like how one is standing apart so you can tell he's the first Doctor.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, man, I started this whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bitches be crazy about one.
But
one is the loneliest Doctor that you ever knew.
Bum, bum, bum. I guess the War Doctor, really. But
can be as bad as one. He's the loneliest Doctor since the number one.
I have to write that whole song now. But yeah, so I could go a little more like the alternate plot I had. I don't know, like one random moment at the beginning. It was gonna be a space battle with like Dalek cruiser and a Time Lord cruiser, and the Time Lords are losing. And the Doctor shows up. He's like, "Quick, give me remote control over your engine ports." And they're like, okay, and they send him remote control. And he uses like a force field thing to grab the entire Time Lord carrier and use it as a bludgeoning weapon against the Dalek carrier and kills all of them like in one blow. Just boom!
Doctor, you dick!
And there'd be like one surviving Dalek that says just Doctor, and he would say, "I've renounced that title. I am the warrior." And then it would kick off the rest of my plot, which involved, the stuff I mentioned before. But yeah, that Susan would have been great. Small number of survivors.
Okay, the Black Library,
possibly.
Black Archive.
Yeah.
That was just great for so many reasons. Just
yeah.
Like at one point, remember those giant clamp things that allowed you to pick anything up in Doomsday that Rose and the Doctor used to hold onto the wall so they wouldn't get flung into the void?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were in the wreckage of stuff.
Good.
I like how they mentioned Captain Jack Harkness again. I so hope he comes back at some point.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And they had pictures of all the companions on that board. Even ones that aren't well known, like the robot.
Yeah.
They had a picture of Susan up there. So they know Susan exists.
Yeah, I hadn't thought, honestly, I just didn't pay attention to the shelves and stuff when I first saw it. But yeah, that is a good thing you want to put in a 50th anniversary, just these freeze frame bonuses for all the fans. Stuff in the background there. I also like that little throwaway line of Clara's like, well, why are you letting me in here? Oh, well, you had top secret clearance last time you were here. I what? You know, whenever
And then
you're dealing
like,
with
she looks over, and there's a picture of Clara walking in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, so that was neat. I'm sure. I hope they'll call back to that. But so many other things just didn't add up properly.
In a time travel show, I know, shocking, but
Well, you could do better. You know, we just demonstrated how. we edited the script on the fly as we go here. It wasn't terrible or anything. It was just missed opportunities and stuff. That,
so much
yeah.
potential, and it just felt.
Yeah, I mean, I still appreciate it.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
appreciate it.
I'm not the type. Some people I know that just hate several aspects of Doctor Who, and I was at least with New Who. I'm always like, well, it was all right at least. I've never like hate it, but it just missed potential. Yeah. I guess that's about it.
Yeah. Although,
Alright.
I would have removed Tennant's line, I don't want to go, because, first off, that wasn't a great line to begin with. And
I
then-
liked it to begin with, and I liked that there's no ambiguity, and there would have been ambiguity. What was his last line on the show? It's the same either way, so aha. But whatever. You could have changed it. It wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah. I would have gone with Alon Z. Just, it's his catchphrase, it's the thing he says, it's the thing he's most known for saying. Fourth Doctor has
Yeah.
jelly babies.
Oh, by the way, someone was saying that because of the curator, if that's the Doctor, then this whole Trenzlore thing they're building up can't possibly happen. But I don't know about all that. So, yeah, I'm sure timey-wiminess gets in the way.
Yep. Well, I think that's everything.
Okay.
So, I'm Sith King,
And I'm Sonic Sons.
signing off.